SMS Zaki Mohammed, chairs the tripartite work group studying how we can help lower wage workers more. The work group has recommended 3 strategies to uplift lower wage workers. 1, to extend progressive wages to many more workers. We'll cover more sectors, starting with retail next year and later food services and waste management. We'll also cover specific occupations across all sectors simultaneously, starting with administrative assistants and drivers. In other words, instead of going sector by sector, horizontally slice by slice, we are going occupation by occupation, vertically, slicing vertically and across all sectors at once. Secondly, we will require companies who are hiring foreign workers to pay all their local employees at least a local qualifying salary. That's how the system works if you are calculating your work permit or your S-Pass requirements, entitlements. Today, these companies already have to pay this qualifying salary, which is $1,400, to some of their local employees, depending on how many work permits or S-Passes they hire. We will tighten this to require these companies to pay all their local employees this local qualifying salary if they wish to hire any foreign workers.
But if the minimum wage is set too high, then businesses, especially the SMEs, cannot afford to pay. They will have to pass the costs on to consumers if they are able to, or cut back on employment of workers of lower educational standards or skills, or in a worst-case scenario, go out of business. In a political contest, a political party will surely come along and say, well, $1,500 will reflect higher moral imperatives. Yet another will come along and say, 1,003 is good, 1,005 is better, but 1,007 must surely be more divine moral imperatives. It can become a political auction. And when this political auction gathers momentum and becomes detached from market realities, the minimum wage escalates beyond what employers are able to pay. And the jobs of our more vulnerable sisters and brothers in this sector will be threatened with the risk of unemployment.
My question quite simply is, do we need to wait so long to cover these Singaporeans? Can we not consider how we can cover them now, immediately? Because it's not a small number, it is a large number. If you think of 60,000 rental units available from HDB, and you compare that with this number, it's significant. It's quite a lot of Singaporeans who need some help. So my Facebook post really was not to diss or dismiss the PWM model. It was to nudge the government, to tell the government, hey, wait a minute, can we move faster on people who are really, really at one end of the spectrum? Are we going to get into an auction when one party says 1,300, another one says 1,500? So this is where I think we probably have to really defer to the experts. National Wages Council is potentially one forum. And there's also some useful statistics we can use, like the average household expenditure on basic necessities. How much really does it cost for the Singaporean family who's at that end of the spectrum? And the minimum wage or the floor can be set at a number which is realistic and correspondent to that. Actually, the bigger concern I have with the PWM model and some of the sectors that SMS has been referring to is potential profiteering on the back of raising wages for Singaporeans. And my question to the Senior Minister of State is, what mechanisms are available in NTUC with MOM to ensure that companies don't do that now? I think Senior Minister of State had a question on the ambit of our minimum wage. The minimum wage we are proposing does not include foreign domestic workers at this point. It does not include foreign manpower at this point, because there are other regulatory levers, especially for foreign workers. quotas, levies. I know they serve specific purposes, but I think you will have to implement this and see how best to work the overall manpower situation that SMEs demand and what the economy demands.
It's worth reminding ourselves that there was a time when, in the 16th century, when people believed that that the sun revolved around the earth. But that belief is not, in fact, the same as evidence. And all evidence from countries all over the world demonstrate that a minimum wage has minimal impact on unemployment as long as it is not set too high. Now, so that leaves us with discussing what is this too high? And again, I think we made a clear justification on why we believe that 1.3K is a justifiable number. But why we believe as well that it's important to be open to other possibilities is because we likewise don't want this number to be politicized. And the way to do that, there are lots of numbers that can be politicized. The interest rate can be politicized. And we ensure that the central banks don't politicize the interest rate by making sure that they have independence, which is why one way forward is to ensure that we have an independent wage board comprised of academics as well as representatives from both the labor movement as well as employers to come up with a number so that it is not politicized.